Everyone, I have a timer in my hand because I have a time limit on this channel. So this might actually end up being more than one video, unfortunately, but I'll put them back to back if that happens. I'm here to talk about divorce. There's nothing that prepared me for divorce. I had no idea it was coming. Although when you look back in hindsight, there were plenty of indicator signs. Like her insisting on separating bank accounts. She decided that she no longer was going to pay bills out of her income, but everything had to come out of my income. There were numerous things along those lines that kind of said to me that this was coming, okay? But I didn't catch them at the time because she had her own business, so separating the bank accounts made sense. Her not paying the bills didn't make sense at the time, but there were, yeah, that's one of them. There were other cues too. I know she'll find this channel and she will argue and scream and tell me to quit saying these things publicly. So I'll brace for that impact when it comes. But right there, I haven't really said anything evil. And I don't really want to talk about why we end up getting divorces. I'm talking about the warning signs that I should have seen that I didn't, which is a very different thing than how the behavior was during the divorce, okay? One of the things that should have warned me is about the time she separated her bank account. A gentleman walked up to her and there were all sorts of indicators of a huge attraction to him. I'm not going to get into what those indicators were, but that definitely occurred. And she spent the next 2 weeks talking about him. And that worried me at the time. And I remember thinking she's probably going to have an affair. She's probably going to have an affair. I don't think she did, but I think if he had pursued it, it might have happened. And all I could think about at the time was some friends of mine, way back before I got married. I had a lady, a couple that lived a couple of doors down, and they'd come over every Friday or Saturday night and we'd play video games with them and some other people. And one night she just walked up and put her arm around me, and looking at her husband's face, when she looked at him, looked at me and said, "You love it." And that's when I realized that she was really attracted to me and didn't care about her husband. I quit talking to them at that point. But now I know how he felt, because that's pretty much how I felt at that time. So there were plenty of things that told me this was coming. I just didn't pay attention to them, chose not to, didn't care. Well, actually I cared. That's not truth. I cared because I worked on our marriage. I wasn't someone who sat back and said, "Oh, it'll take care of itself." Marriages don't work that way. You have to work. Both partners have to work towards keeping the marriage going. And one of the keys, I think, to a successful marriage would be communication, being able to talk. And I realized right before she dumped the divorce on me, we had reached a point where I could not talk to her about most everything without her blowing up. And that was another pretty good indicator it was coming, okay? There are other indicators, like her parents lived in the house and her mom was dead set against me from the beginning. She would do little tiny things here and there all over the place to try to irritate me, to get me to be angry and imbalanced all the time. And things like that. There were other indicators. And my advice right now is, don't let the parents live with you. Let them live next door. Move them close, but not in your house. I won't let that happen again. That was not a good thing. So indicators of divorce, yeah, looking back at them, I could see they were coming. I could see they were coming. Another one that was a huge indicator that she was never really satisfied with me as a partner was every 3 to 6 months she would threaten divorce. Since the marriage started, she would do this. And we had gone to counselors a couple of times, and all the counselors had agreed that that is a major warning sign that you should not be threatening divorce at every moment of a relationship. You can't have a good relationship that way. So that was another indicator this was coming. You can't just constantly threaten divorce. It leaves the marriage unbalanced and unstable. Whether she meant it or not is irrelevant. It might have been a method of control. I can't tell you. All I know is it was a constant threat hovering over our marriage. Constant. Okay? So, again, if you're aware, there are indicators it's coming. Another one was loss of physical contact. Before divorce happened, we went for 2 or 3 months where I couldn't really even touch her without her getting mad. That's also an indicator of an affair. And I realize that. Private communication, not letting anyone see your cell phone, not letting anyone see your messages, is another indicator of that. We maintained pretty much personal phones, and we never really shared our phones with each other. So there was no way to see what her messages were at any given time. And I'm not sure whether that is a good thing or a bad thing. It just indicates a lack of trust. But there's also trust issues involved with that, because if you want to look at your partner's phone all the time, they might feel like you don't trust them. Her first marriage was that way. He didn't trust her at all. And he was constantly checking up on her and seeing what she was doing. So that is also an issue. So again, looking for divorce, looking for it, is not something I was actively doing. I was actively trying to take care of my kids. Some of you know that. Some of you friended me on Facebook a while ago, and you saw my post about the kids. I've always been actively trying to take care of my kids. And taking care of business, COVID almost ruined my business, and that put another huge strain on our relationship. My income fell by 80-90% during COVID, which is a huge drop in income. I mean, huge. You can't really expect yourself to do well with that kind of income drop. It doesn't happen. So there were external strains on our marriage as well. Okay? Lots of external strains. And I think I'm winding down this conversation. So I'm going to stop the video here, start a new one on a different topic.